Welcome to the War Room, a weekly roundtable discussion that takes place every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Tune in at 911warroom.com/Zoom.
All right, everybody, it is 5:01, Sunday, April 24th. 911 War Room, just starting off with news real quick. Let me go to screen 2. Terry Schaefer, former Shanksville fire chief who responded, let me move my monitor, or I can't, who responded to 9/11 receives a new heart. Volunteer fire chief who led Shanksville's first responders on September 11th received a new heart. He through some donations, got over $100,000, 500 donors, and he's doing well. Very cool. The next one, I don't have a lot of information on because I'm not paying to subscribe. So if anybody else knows any more about this one, gas prices are blocking the truth about Saudi Arabia's 9/11 connection to Sarasota. And I can only read down to there. So I don't know how gas prices have anything to do with that, but this actually goes back to an older story that I found. Needs to come FBI needs to come clean on Sarasota Saudi connection, which I'm sure, Darren, you probably do know more about this one. The family of Saudi Arabia mysteriously fled Sarasota, leaving kind of vapor trail of information about 9/11 that some from the FBI had better start releasing or explaining why they can't. So this article was from, go ahead if you have something.
No, I think it's basically if the United States government continues to release documents about Saudi Arabia's part in 9/11, they're just gonna keep raising gas prices, basically like a blackmail type of thing.
Thank you for that. That's as far as news, as corporate media news, that's all I have. Other 9/11 related news. Richard Gage interviewed John Perkins, the author of An Economic Hitman, which I've heard that title a long time, a lot, but I never knew what it was about. And my 30-second gist on what it's about is he was part of the government and that would get loans for other countries that they would willfully accept, and then when they would default on those loans and couldn't pay back the loans, all of a sudden we had them trapped for their resources for oil or whatever else. And it was kind of just a really dark method of trying to get people in debt so that you could harvest them for resources, kind of like our student debts. We get all these students in way over their head in debts, and now you've got them locked in for how long on things. That's my very oversimplified version of that, but it was a really informative interview if you guys get a chance to check that out. And lastly, Deb Lee's helping out with putting some stickers up in New York City, just to call attention. We have a QR code on it that brings it back to truth911.org, which if anybody's familiar with truth911.org, it's just a landing page site that takes them to AE, the LC, the firefighters, or Justice for 9/11 Heroes, and we have some other links down at the bottom. But she put one up there right outside of World Trade Center complex on a bench, just on the corner of Vesey, and this is, I believe, World Trade Center, the new World Trade Center 1. And you can see this guy is actually looking right at it as he's walking across the street. And just plop them anywhere and catch, you got a couple hundred views just to put that pebble in somebody's shoes. Somebody that's never thought about 9/11, no matter how you come down on 9/11, no matter what you believe on 9/11, just to get them to think about it. Because my son's in Denver and he says, Dad, I don't see anything about 9/11 out here at all, not in years. He goes, not one thing that makes me think about it. So again, we're just trying to plant a seed to get somebody to just to think about it. And if you're interested in that sticker, 911warroom.com/stickers, you have to type in that URL directly and it'll take you here and you could download the artwork, see examples of it, them being put up everywhere. And I know some people's they're not down with this method of outreach, but some they are. So, and that's all I have for new news. Open the floor to anybody else. Anything? Well, actually, we do. Al, if you want to talk a little bit about the National Fire Protection
Yeah, I got 2 days worth of conversations going here, but we have a June 3rd through the 5th is the National Fire Prevention Convention Expo in Boston. And we're trying to, we've raised the money to get a booth. And now it's a matter of who's gonna be there signing the contract and under whose name and what website and who's gonna be the sponsor. So we're trying to come to a decision, and it's harder than I thought. And Gene, you were just on our last call, so you've got firsthand information. But subsequent to that, we talked to Eric Lawyer again. He's the firefighter from Seattle, now living in Colorado. And he originally was the one we chose to sponsor the booth. And then he got sort of sidetracked into this channeling thing that he does, and kind of frightened some of us away from him. But he talked again tonight. I was on the call with Richard Gage, and he has actually, he's quite well spoken on the subject of how to approach firefighters. And he is sending out, I don't know how many people have watched Calling Out Bravo 7, the video, but, and this guy, Paul Cayley from England, and they've tried everything, going right up the chain of command in the firehouses. What they found is the best way to approach this. You know, he asked us, what are our objectives? And what do we want to see from this convention, and how would we present ourselves? So we're going to be on a call tomorrow. Gene, you're welcome to attend again if you can stand it. But in which this Paul Cayley's going to talk to us. And we still haven't made 100% commitment between this guy, Eric Lawyer, and the other option is, now what was his name
Dale
again?
Pierce.
Yeah, and he has his own website called Protect Our Protectors, and he's done a lot with in the 9/11 truth effort. It's one of the amazing things is his what they did in, where was it, New Jersey, I guess, or what was he? Were you there when he was talking about that, Gene?
I didn't catch the New Jersey part.
Oh, well, somewhere on the East Coast, they had a digital sign, really large sign out in front of on the water, actually, and it created quite a stir among the city elders. I mean, the mayor and they were shocked about seeing the sign out there. But anyway, I digress. He's the other option we have. He's currently living in Baja, Mexico. So we'd have to bring him in as well.
Did he, was that the story you're talking about where he was talking to somebody, counsel or something, and he brought up his son who committed suicide from the
Yeah,
war
right.
time?
Son,
And they
he's
just
got-
basically turned it over to him and said, you can say whatever you want now, sir. And he
Yeah,
just
right.
laid into them, and they
Yeah.
all sat back and just let him do his talk.
Exactly. Yeah, he's a firefighter and a veteran, and his son was in Iraq, committed suicide. And so he's got the creds, the street creds for sure with firefighters. But it's a tough call on basically what we're trying to accomplish at this fire prevention convention is, you know, how to get to these guys, you know, how to get to a fireman and you know, get them to sign what we want is this mutual aid request that Christopher Joy drew up. And sort of a call to action and get an email address from these guys would be our, you know, obviously what we want to do there, as well as educate them. And anyway, I could go on all night. I'm burned out from two straight hours of this stuff, but it looks like we're gonna, I mean, once we sign the contract, then, you know, we got a whole nother ball of things to do in order to get ready for this thing. But it's costly, to say the least, and we're still looking for donations because we think we're going to end up closer to 10 grand on this.
Right. So the
But,
long and short of it, roughly June 6th, there's a convention in Boston, NFPA. We wanted to get somebody of credibility to stand there. Unfortunately, Scott Granger from AE, he was an NFPA member, wasn't able to make it. So we were in a scramble to try to find at least a firefighter or somebody. Richard Gage would go with somebody accompanying him. Trying to find that second firefighter, could be Eric Lawyer, could be Dale Pierce. Get a booth. The booth ended up being $4,000, getting a flight and everything. Like, so far, Boston's gotten 7 grand together, but altogether it's going to be about 10 grand. But AE also bowed out. Ted Walter, really, they should be the ones there because they have all the engineers, people, the folks to be able to do it, but they don't want to be part of it. So this is an opportunity. We have a national convention for national fire protection to be able to bridge that, make a bridge there with these folks. And we can't come out overtly with a swing in the club of 9/11 truth because people will just tune you out, as we all know. So they're approaching it. We're getting closer. Thank you.
Yeah, we're trying to address our audience in a way that addresses their safety issues with going into a building. And if you believe the NIST report, and I mean, in order to make sure these guys are safe and come across as having been interested in their safety is what we're trying to do.
Yep. Thank you very much, sir. Anybody else for new news? 9/11 Truth Movement. All right, then I open the floor. Anybody else have anything else they would like to discuss this week? Let's be.
Nobody's talking here. I'd like to continue a little bit if nobody wants to
Who else
talk.
wants to talk? Go right ahead.
Well, I've talked to all these guys. Ted Walter, who was the author of the NICAN legislation in New York, trying to get him to come up. One of the things, he's on the board with architects and engineers, I gather. And one of the things they're trying to do is go after the engineers. They felt they got more bang for the buck by spending all their money addressing engineering schools and societies and companies. And Roland Ingalls, who's this is sort of, I think it's called, what's the name of their efforts?
Oh,
I forgot. already.
Project Due Diligence.
Project Due Diligence, right. And I have to agree with them that, I mean, the engineers are the ones that, once they see the engineering aspects to this, either they have to go into serious denial. I mean, engineering is either right or wrong. There's no gray area there. And according to Roland, they have the most success once they do their presentations, that they get just about everybody in the room to agree that what happened, you know, the NIST report is just full of holes and couldn't possibly be true. So, you know, hats off to them that they can do that. The NICAN effort in New York, which didn't go anywhere, is a really great way of presenting to the fire safety community that they can, you know, that if given what happened on 9/11, all the building codes should be redesigned. I mean, in other words, you can't have it both ways. You can't have a building collapse in like it did in New York, and so they were asking for a new investigation based on the fact that the building codes needed to be redone, and sort of a backdoor approach to, if I have it right, getting people to understand that we were lied to, basically, the NIST report, and it's a wonderful bit of, I don't know how many people have looked at it, but it's well worth a read what they were proposing down there. But unfortunately, we can't get Ted to come up and talk about it, which would have been the ideal subject matter for this convention.
I'm trying to find his site again, and I can't find it.
The NICAN.
Yeah, New York CAN. Oh, here it is. NYCCAN. Finally. Let me share my screen real quick. I looked up high-rise safety initiative. It actually goes to a Saudi Arabian site, which I found. If you type in high-rise safety initiative. Yeah, I think it's this one, which would normally be it. You get Dubai, United Arab Emirates. Who else would buy the domain name, once
Yeah,
it
really.
went bad? But I was like, this definitely had to be the website. So what's beautiful about this, if any of you guys are activists, didn't know you have this. If you go to Wayback Machine.
Oh, yeah, I remember you talking about that.
So check this out. We look up, we'll put in that address that we knew used to be a 9/11 Truth website. And look, they used to crawl it back, heavily crawled back in 2014, 15, 16. You click on any one of these, pick any date where it was being crawled. The bigger the circle, the more it was crawled that day. But it'll take you to a snapshot of that website back in November of 2014. And here you can see it used to be, yes, the High Rise Safety Initiative website. But I guess Ted let that domain name go, and somebody at Dubai's United Arab Emirates bought it. So now he's at nyccan.org. And I guess this is Ted Walter, his baby, which, hats off to him. He is, he's got a tight rein on that, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. But that would have been the ideal presentation for us, but not happening.
Mm-hmm. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I know. I really wanted to get him to come up. But
To get a hold of this Bill Manning, editor of Fire Engineering. I don't know. Anyways, so we're going to keep proceeding with that.
But it's interesting talking to these guys for the first time. I've never had any experience with a lot of these names, but how much they've done in the way of 9/11 Truth. And I mean, it's amazing the extent to which they have gone through the firefighting community.
We could just interrupt you real quick. I'll do my daily
Oh, sorry.
shindig. All good. For those that aren't religious, just chill. I know I'm not the greatest Christian witness. Nobody needs to tell me that, but just hang with me for a second. Lord, to just lift this up to you, I thank you for all these hearts and minds that continue to press for 9/11 Truth, no matter where we stand. Just pray that we could get justice in our life. If not, that we could trust that justice will be served in eternity. Thank you again that you would give us all the strength to continue on. In your name I pray. Amen. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt there, Al. What else?
No, I was just saying how much some of the people in the movement have done. I don't think, at least for me, I was aware of half of the things that they have sponsored and participated in. It's really impressive. I mean, we're not just talking about out on the street protesting. I mean, they've gone right to the top, you know, in a lot of the different professions and what they have, you know, tried to accomplish.
Mm-hmm. I love it. We're all doing our own thing, how we see it best to be done. We don't agree with each other on the ways that we do it, but we're all pressing forward. So, I mean, yeah, we ultimately we all want justice for 9/11 crimes, and hats off to them. Hats off to everybody. We're gonna step on each other's toes too.
Yeah. How
All right,
was the Pentagon, and did you do it this weekend or no?
No, we're gonna do it once a month. If I, yeah, the next one would be on May 14th. Let me see here. No, May 16th, if people still want to be part of that.
Did
don't
I
know,
see where Adam Fitzgerald had sent out some salvos towards you, or what was that all about?
Yeah, we all don't agree on the way to approach things. Darren's kind of involved in that too, and you know, I don't have the most level head on things too, and I can lose my shit too, just like anybody else. I just don't like to be told my position when I don't hold a position. I don't like the insinuations that I don't care for victims' family members. And I really loathe the thought that people are against a controlled demolition when we have 60 exhibits for it at the second level circuit court of appeals.
Right. Hey, Gene, just real quick. I know we don't agree on everything, but this is what I have a problem with is you kicked me out of that 9/11 group on Facebook, which there's no need to do that. I didn't call you names. You called me names. I didn't call you names. Okay.
I don't think I called names, but okay.
You called me. You told me and Adam were licking each other's balls. You said mother
Yeah.
effer. I never say anything that's you. There's no reason for you to censor me out of that group for Facebook. Okay.
Fair enough. I'll put you back.
Okay,
I just
that's
don't.
fine. Just fine.
Don't.
But don't kick me out again though.
But
I mean,
don't,
unless I'm calling. Okay. Go
okay.
ahead.
Ball licking isn't really not calling you a name.
Yeah, but you're.
Oh,
What
come
are you
on now.
insinuating?
The technical.
Well, it's, you know, when we're in Twitter, we're making comments, and every single comment made by Adam or Darren are liked by Adam or Darren. But then I make a comment, and not one comment is appreciated. It's certainly tilted when all I'm asking is just show support for a 9/11 grand jury.
And I never said I didn't support you. I hope you guys are heard. I hope you guys do get somewhere.
Yeah, but that's like a passive. Yeah, I hope you guys good luck with that. But I just don't understand why. That's the furthest we are in the 9/11 truth movement as far as
I think there's
litigation
also,
concerned. That is
I think
the
there's also an important distinction to be made with, you know, the 60 exhibits for the 60 exhibits in the case, you know, are exhibits with respect to their exhibits. So in other words, a case has to be made with respect to those exhibits, and the opposition is also going to make a case with respect to the same exhibits.
Mhm.
So evidence is just that, it's just evidence, but a case is going to be made on both sides with respect to that evidence. So so it's not about the evidence per se, it's about the case being made. And we don't know what the case is being made on the opposition on the opposite side. So it's
but there is no case on the other side. This is the presentation of the 60 exhibits to a grand jury.
no, I understand that, but they're going to have to make a case at some point if it goes forward. So I'm just saying, I'm just saying there's a lot of us who understand you know, a lot of the you know, prevailing thought with respect to 9/11, and then there's a lot of us who understand the prevailing thought and then beyond that as well. So when we look at the beyond part of that, then it's like we see the hiccups in the case. So that's what we get concerned about, because at some point, if it goes forward, we're concerned that it'll get thrown out as frivolous. And then you have a problem, because anybody who brings anything else forward after that is going to have a major hill to climb.
But it can't be thrown out as
And-
frivolous. You're talking about the presentation of 60 exhibits.
No, I'm
to a
talking
grand
about
jury.
when it goes forward beyond the presentation. It's just, as I said, when the grand jury, if the grand jury makes a decision or whatever on something and it
No,
moves forward,
The decision is to
And-
subpoena more people and indict people. There's no,
but there's no, okay, I get that, but there's nothing. In other words, there's gonna be, when you start indicting people, they're gonna bring on defense lawyers, and those defense lawyers are gonna go after those evidence exhibits.
Mhm.
That's my point. So what is the position at that point with respect to those evidence exhibits that's gonna be able to hold up to the opposition's statements on what their case is gonna be? What is the opposition's case gonna be with respect to those exhibits? You guys, we don't know that. So that's what I'm getting at. I'm looking at the future, not currently what's being laid before the
if
grand
you guys
jury.
had a
or-
list of serious concerns, we could invite Mick back and maybe we could address those concerns and he could give us some.
Didn't
What would
didn't the
happen?
lawyers committee ever consider, I mean, the counter arguments? I mean, they must be aware that they're gonna be attacked by a defense attorney. They must have a plan for that.
But
I
right
would
now, Mick's position, as far as I understand it, is we're just fighting to get this evidence presented to
Right.
the grand jury because he's of no concern that once the grand jury gets this evidence that they will look at it and then actually do something about it. And that's all the further really he's talked about it.
And I get that. I totally get that. And you wouldn't want to sit there and publicize your defense, your understanding of the defense anyway. I
Right.
get that as well. I just see it as a very limiting with respect to the bigger picture. And
well,
and there's going to be some
well,
hangups.
Yeah, so Ed and Gene, I just want to point out is with the LC, it's hard to support them fully because of the people who are on the board
Yeah, I'm
there.
not gonna go down that route. I don't like that route at all. We're not gonna.
I know, Gene, but it should be addressed because they don't believe a plane hit the Pentagon.
Right, and then a lot of people, no, that's not what they say.
Barbara Honecker does not believe Flight 77 hit the Pentagon. She believes in the plane swap.
Okay, that's Barbara Honegger, and I do not want to hear
Jane-
anybody tell Richard Gage that he's a no planer because he takes no position like I take no position. Let me go into Kale, and Kale, please. I know you're gonna want to tear into. Good, you be you,
no,
Kale. Say what you got to say, brother.
No cowbell. Come on, Gene. You know me better than that.
Right on, brother.
Look, the only reason why we are all here, no matter who we are, is to get this back under a real investigation, not by the Fox. Okay, so we all have our views. We all have our perspective from our research, and that's it. We shouldn't be dividing. We shouldn't be demanding each other to look at one's view and one is better than the other and I'm at this rank and this one's down here, and cut that shit out.
Well,
That's the whole problem with all this bullshit.
I don't believe in
And the
Fox.
the ones that do call for division are questionable.
I don't
Well,
believe
that's
in
their-
Fox or CNN.
If
I'm
I
going by
may,
evidence.
their MO, they like to be what I consider, and I mean this in a friendly term, they consider themselves to be auditors of the 9/11 truth movement, kind of where whatever they consider the fringiest of theories needs to be removed from.
Yeah, well, a calling for division is a part of the problem, and they know that at this point. We're 20 years in already.
Right.
So they
And we're
know
and we're,
when they pull those division cards, they need to go.
right, and we're 20 years in and we're still debating if a plane hit the Pentagon. Do you see the problem there? That's a huge issue.
No, we're not debating, me and you or anybody else. You're making it a debate if you keep it going. You know what I'm saying? So
Well,
if you're demanding somebody to look at your view, then you're part of the problem.
How am I part of the problem when there's 86
I'm just saying,
eyewitnesses that
I
saw the
don't know
plane
you
hit the
personally.
Pentagon?
I don't know you personally, but if you're
That's
calling
fine.
for division, then you're part of the problem.
I'm not calling for division. I'm calling. You
Nobody's
guys
doing
talk
that.
about justice.
Yeah,
But-
this is going to be a major.
No, I'm
disagreement
not
right
arguing.
here.
I'm just
I understand
saying.
that. I'm just saying your two positions right now are at odds with each other, and we're not gonna.
Well, can I
solve it.
give my
Yeah,
my
go ahead.
stance of why I believe it?
I don't
It-
demand somebody to see my view, Gene. I never have, never will. I don't demand
Understood.
anybody to look at my view.
That's fine.
Kale's
but,
coming off as inclusive with everyone being able to share their perspectives, whether or not they're true or not. And Darren's coming from the perspectives that we cannot. They are the purveyors of truth. I'm sorry that I'm going to phrase it that way because it sounds kind of, but You know what I'm trying to say there. And there's just two worldviews that are not going to mesh right there.
So
Well,
so what's going to hold up in court? Just answer this: saying a plane didn't hit the Pentagon, or evidence that there is.
That's not my shtick.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. So if you have somebody, if you go into a court and you tell the judge saying Flight 77 hit the Pentagon, he's going to ask you, well, what happened to it? And you say, well, they were swapped. Do you think you're going to be heard, or are you going to be laughed out of court?
Darren, we aren't the court, bro.
I know,
just
but you guys are trying to present
we're
that
just
evidence
trying-
to the court.
No, we're just trying to help this get to other people to look into it. So the more population we get involved in this, the better chance we all have. But we are not the court. We're not the lawyers. We're not the judges. We want to be.
This is actually a good point.
But we're not.
We're going after two different,
Polite.
we're actually going after two different, how do I say, two different methods of outreach. Kale's talking more about getting people onboarded and newbies and anybody that's never even heard of 9/11. And you guys are further down the road, as in, okay, now we want to start thoroughly checking this information and auditing it. So we're still two worldviews that aren't going to agree on things, but I think there's also a good separation there on who we're outreaching to.
Do you
Toward the end
guys?
of that, Gene, is you don't go and demand your point of view to the other. That's part of the division.
That will
Even
isolate and
know
exclude
that they're
people. You're right.
spreading
Yes.
information. We're not the court, man. We're not the
Take it.
lawyers or judges.
Let me go to Ed real quick. Go ahead, Ed.
The problem is that not taking a position on things that are obvious is like it's basically being on the fence, and a fence is literally a dividing line between two different sides. So one who is on the fence or not taking a position is literally creating the divide. Once you get off the fence and take a position, then you're able to not be in a divisive situation. So what we're saying, what I think Darren and I, what we're saying is that, and Sean now, what we're saying is that if you want people, you want to get more people, if you want to actually get more people involved in the movement, then the reason why it hasn't grown is because you have people who adhere to ridiculous theories. And that's what is stopping people from joining, because they don't want to be associated with it. So it's actually hurting the movement. That's what our biggest beef is primarily, because nobody wants to be associated with kooky theories.
Right.
But I don't think that's our biggest problem, because
Right.
we're not so big that people are like, my son's saying for 2 years now, he doesn't even think about 9/11 because there's absolutely nothing for them to see.
Well, there's nothing, because there's a bunch of kooky theories that are going around nobody wants to
Exactly.
associate with, so they don't even bother looking at it.
And as
I
far
don't
as
want to
the
be
most,
associated with that.
you said if we could agree on something that's so obvious, and I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to beat this horse dead. I'm going to dig it up a million times. This right here, extensive evidence of thus far and destruction of the 3 World Trade Center towers. The evidence presented petition exhibits here considered by the Lawyers Committee after careful evaluation to be conclusive. This, as far as I'm concerned, is the most common sense thing that we all should be agreeing
And
on.
that is at this point, no matter how you want to look at it, no matter how much you want to say it, is still an opinion. There's no factual information there.
Yeah, I
That
got
is still
60 of them.
contentious.
I get 60
No,
pieces.
that's just evidence exhibits. That's all that is. It's not a case.
There's 60 facts.
That's not a case. That is evidence to build a case.
There's
That is
60
still an
pieces.
opinion. There is nothing factual about that statement. It's an
Come on,
opinion,
Gene, lawyer,
which means it's
remember?
still contentious. I might agree with it. I might be right there with you on it, but it's still contentious. There's nothing factual about it. And I agree with it.
I see 60 facts.
Those are evidence exhibits. A defense attorney can turn around and take those same exhibits and make your own case with it. That's
You could
completely tear apart
interpret it
the other side.
differently, but there's still 60 facts.
But that's right. But they're going to interpret it. That's what lawyers do. They take the evidence that's presented in court, no matter who presents it, and makes it work to their benefit.
And you guys saying that a plane definitely hit the Pentagon is, again, same exact thing. It's just evidence that somebody could turn around and say it completely different.
So
You're
you
right.
think
Same thing
86
you just said to me.
you think
there's facts
86
associated with
eyewitnesses
that.
is not enough?
Again, you're just saying the same thing I just said. Your 86 pieces of
Eyewitnesses?
facts here's my 60 pieces of facts. We're talking
Yeah,
the
but
same
But they're
thing.
two solely different,
Real
incidences.
too,
Let me
yeah.
talk out of this side of the mouth, or let me talk out of this side of the mouth. But
they're
86
two-
pieces
but
of
they're
evidence,
two-
60 pieces
but
of
they're-
evidence.
But they're not, but they're two separate pieces of information, two separate incidences, though. The one's dealing with the World Trade Center, the other dealing with the Pentagon.
Okay.
You don't, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like you don't like. The
One's
60
at the
exhibits relating
second
to the
level
World
circuit
Trade
court of
Center,
appeals, and the other is nowhere in litigation.
by choice, because nobody wanted to take a position on the Pentagon and present that evidence.
Oh boy. I didn't see
You know
that
what I'm
coming.
saying?
Hi, Richard.
Hey,
Hi,
Richard.
Dean.
We are
Hi,
getting into a rather
Ed.
contentious issue.
How you doing,
of,
Richard?
Oh, I gotta go now.
yeah.
No.
No, we just worldviews on how we should approach 9/11. Some of us agree on controlled demolition and where we are with the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, and others are very concerned about auditing the 9/11 truth movement for I know, looking for the fringe conspiracies where we all disagree on what the fringe conspiracies are, or whether we just want to hear them out. Some people feel that they shouldn't have a platform to be heard out anymore. I think I explained that relatively well.
Yeah, I think we should all focus on the things that we disagree on so that we can fracture the movement completely.
It's 20 years in,
But-
it's been fractured.
Yeah, it's already fractured.
It's been fractured,
Exactly.
dude. It's 20 years and we're still debating if a plane hit the Pentagon. That's
You are-
fractured.
You're debating.
I'm debating that there is a plane that hit the Pentagon because there's ample evidence that there is. So tell me what hit the Pentagon then?
Again, I don't
Like
take a
I
position,
said,
and I
we are
don't believe
not
Richard takes a
lawyers,
position.
we're not the judges, Darren, I believe it is. We're not the lawyers and judges. We're just trying to.
This
help
has
this
nothing to
get
do
into
with
the light.
that.
We're just trying to help this get into the light.
I'm
brother.
trying to, because you know what this is about? This ain't about us. This is about
Yeah,
the families and the victims. This ain't about us.
Somebody, don't demand somebody to see your view or they're nothing. You know what I'm saying? You don't do
Okay,
that.
well then 20 years later, we'll still be at the same setting here debating if a plane hit the Pentagon.
But I don't think that's
Oh,
true
well,
because,
oh,
again,
well,
we're at the Second
right
Circuit Court of Appeals.
Oh well, huh? Well, you tell the family victims that, oh well.
regarding the World Trade Center, yes, and that's fine, and that's great. But at the same time, the reason why the Pentagon information isn't presented at the Court of Appeals is because nobody wanted to take a position on it. And there's more evidence for that than there is for the World Trade Center as far as the factual data that isn't speculative or.
And I guess
with
I'm
respect-
begging you guys to present something to Mick, get something concise and present it. So
But
that
I mean, David Chandler's work is there, Wayne Cossey's work is there, it's all there. It's all presented.
You
We did
guys- a
10-hour
lot of you guys
conference with
believe-
Richard.
Yeah, a lot of you guys believe Chandler's work on the Trade Center, but you don't believe his work on the Pentagon.
And that's bizarre.
yeah.
We're trying to figure that one
That's
out.
bizarre.
I
I
don't
mean,
think
the
it's
cherry
bizarre.
scientific methods used on both. And it's like, it's just weird. It's like it's just a bizarre situation psychologically, because it's like, I don't know if it's just that there's afraid of losing face with some of the people who are already part of the movement and just don't want to take that leap. But I guarantee you, man, if you take that leap and actually make a definitive stance on it, what you know, then you would actually attract people who are going to really actually be more credible. Not that I'm saying anybody here isn't. It's just you're going to attract better quality people who are going to look at this stuff from a very, very jaundiced eye and actually be very critical of it, while at the same time being able to confirm a lot of it.
And I think
And then you're going to get into situations where you're going to be able to get into the understanding exactly how the CIA, the FBI, and the intelligence operations were really screwed up, and how a lot of the information didn't get passed on, and why, and who was involved, and then you have to get names involved,
so
because
the process, I
until-
think,
and-
was started where Richard had the 9/11 con Pentagon. It was just to get people to come to a table and present their views. And there's a lot of conversations, as Adam Roth said, that a lot in between has got to happen to get there. I mean, our last 9/11 War Room that we did on Saturday, we had some amazing people in there. I mean, we had Craig McKee and all you guys sitting in a rational discussion that didn't get out of hand, and that was amazing.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's just weird that so many people have a platform that's where they're taking. It's kind of like if you had a company and you hired security, and security lets in all the crazies off the street and run the company.
No, that's not
That's
what's
almost
happening.
like what it's like.
That's not what's happening.
That's from my point of view. That's what's happening. You're
We've
getting-
never, in 20
you're-
years, we haven't
wait,
had
let me
people all sit at a
wait.
table and talk to each other rationally. And
No,
that's
but
what
let me
Richard
finish.
started there.
Let me finish though. Let me finish. What I'm saying is that when you have you got it. The problem is there's no standards. That's one of the problems. I keep saying this. There's no standards by which to actually evaluate data. It's like, all right, what are we going to reasonably accept and what are we going to discard? If somebody comes in and says, hey, there were holograms that flew into the World Trade Center, obviously you discard that as not being a valid theory.
Mhm.
And there's other things that fall in that realm as well. But where do we create the line? Where do we draw the line and say, look, this sort of thing is not acceptable? If you got some real data to back it up, have them write it up. Have them draft something, write it up, present the evidence, and then get it peer reviewed. And then maybe it could be accepted. But until then, it's like they shouldn't be allowed to come in and give long ass lectures about their theory when they don't have any real evidence or facts to back it up. It's just a theory.
Let me throw this at you. Let's picture a
Sure.
ship called the 9/11 Truth Movement. And we've got
Okay.
everybody on board, the hologrammers, the
it's-
CGIers, the DEWs, planes, no planes, missiles, everybody. We're all on this ship. Is any
Okay.
one port mutiny of that part of the ship so detrimental to the ship that people that are not on the ship looking at it and going, oh, that's just completely ridiculous? I mean, I don't think we're that big to be worrying about any one view coming off.
But there's a reason why we're not that big, Gene. There's a reason why we've gone 20 years. We had big movements. In 2004, 2006, 2008, we are Change LA was huge. We had big conferences. We had a lot of people, a lot of movement. And what happened was it just went to hell in a handbasket because people got apathetic.
Yeah, but you guys had
People got
control of that
apathetic.
since then, and it's not grown.
Because nobody. The reason it got apathetic is because we got all the data. It's like, okay, yeah, World Trade Center was brought down by controlled demolition. Now what? Okay, great. Now we got a lawyers committee lawsuit going on Second Circuit. Great, that's that. Okay, great. Now there's all this other data though with respect to the Saudi Arabian financing of the terrorism. Now that's in play, but nobody wants to look at that because they have these other beliefs.
But they
That's
are.
blocking
Kreindler and
them.
Kreindler's pursuing that. Motley Rice is pursuing that.
Right, but just like in this room itself, the Saudis are not important. They're irrelevant.
I would say that most of the
Tactics
people in
and-
this room in the 9/11 Truth Movement that we know follow behind the evidence that AE 9/11 Truth presented through the last 15 years.
Well, that's regarding buildings, yes, but
Yeah.
that's just one little part
Understood,
of the 9/11
but that's
narrative.
where most of our interest is. A lot of us aren't following Motley Rice or Kreindler and Kreindler. You
Right,
guys,
there's a
it's really
reason.
hard, it's too much work.
For that.
go ahead, Richard.
Well, it's not just that it's too much work, Ed. It's that in large measure, it inherently and implicitly supports the official narrative, and it's not getting to the heart of the matter.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, how would you know if you don't know the narrative with respect to the Saudi Arabian angle? How would you know it actually supports the official narrative? Because we know it doesn't. We actually know it actually makes the CIA and FBI complicit because they're the ones who covered it up. They're the ones who allowed it.
They're the ones who
They're
set
the
up
ones who are
the.
monitoring these guys.
They're the ones that
They're the ones who are
that-
monitoring guys since 92.
they weren't just monitoring them. They set them up in the first place, and then they monitored them.
How did they set them up?
I think you guys
Serious
know that
question.
more.
How did they set them up?
They overrode the State Department's filtering system in Saudi Arabia, per the State Department whistleblower, Michael Springman, and allowed them to emigrate, or whatever the word is, to the United States.
Yes,
So
and there was
that's-
both
so that's how
monitored,
they're
and the CIA knew they were here, and then the CIA refused to tell the FBI since they were now domestic, which fell into FBI jurisdiction. But the CIA wanted to turn two of the men who came in, but they never got a chance, but they failed to do so. And that's one of the reasons why they were able to get the United States and the FBI didn't know.
And I respect that you
And,
know that, and I really think you guys have more of a connection with Motley Rice and Kreindler than an architect that's pursuing the scientific evidence for controlled demolition.
Right, but it all works together. One can't be excluded and then
In
see
the
other.
end, yeah.
And that's why it's hard to take the idea that it's like you to ignore one and not and accept one piece of evidence, ignore another piece of evidence. There's one big overriding narrative with respect to 9/11, and the controlled demolition is just a little piece of it. Pentagon is just a little piece of it, and there's a much bigger story there.
I think those are 80% of it, Ed. You know why?
Well, if you don't know the
Let them tell
whole
them why.
other
Let
narrative,
them tell you
if
why.
don't- well, here's the thing. I just want to say, if you don't know the larger narrative with respect to other aspects, geopolitics, etc., then you're not going to know what percentage. I actually asked that question before.
Well, it doesn't matter because you can't take the time to explain that to somebody that's walking by your table. What you need to show them is what's implicitly and immediately obvious to a fifth grader. And that's why we spent 99% of our time talking to the greatest percent of the public that's going to get this. The obscure analysis about Saudi Arabian names that they can't even pronounce and inherently don't care about are not going to win this big battle.
As
So-
far as the
I just-
outreach,
so-
yeah, again, we're talking two different ways of methods of outreach as well here. So
So you guys
I
think
just-
9/11 is 80% controlled demolition? Is that what I'm hearing?
Say it again, Darren.
Do you think 9/11 is basically 80% controlled demolition? That's what the focus should be.
Oh, I'm saying that is how big that piece of evidence is compared to the other evidence. Yes.
Okay. Now I have a question. In controlled demolition, do you have any suspects or names or faces?
So again, please allow me to answer this because this is where once we present.
I'm not
the
It's a
I'm
good
not
question.
anti-controlled
It's a good- it's a
demolition.
good
I'm not.
question.
Right, I hear you,
Good
but
question.
let me finish my statement here. So when we present the 60 exhibits to a controlled demolition to a grand jury, they will then have subpoena power, testimony under oath, and discovery. So at that point, then we get indictments issued, and then that's who we find that's where we start to put the heat on who's behind all this. So we don't have,
Wait.
I mean, right now in the material witnesses section of the grand jury lawsuit, point H discusses the high fivers, where we would call them in, subpoena them in, and get names. Maybe they would drop names. So it all leads to
Israel.
getting to the. I guess we're talking about whether the cart's before the horse or the horse before the cart on this.
Well, why not pursue concurrent lines of inquiry though?
And I think
Yeah.
we are. That's why Kreindler is pursuing them. And Motley Rice.
Yeah, I'm not trying to stop you, Ed, at all.
Right.
Right,
but
yeah, sorry, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that I understand that, but the problem is that the outrageous theories that are out there, like missiles hitting Pentagon and things of that nature, and flyovers and Barb Honegger's position is what's actually keeping us from moving forward, because
But is it?
because we have to overcome that nonsense
Absolutely.
in order to discuss the other Saudi Arabia connections, because nobody believes Saudi Arabia connections because they believe in these other theories. So this is what's given us a very difficult time. That's why We Are Change LA is no longer around. I sat there and I was running that organization. I sat there in the meeting and I said, hey, we need to revisit the Pentagon because this new information come up. I looked at that new evidence. I reevaluated it. I was looking at the Saudi stuff. I was looking at all this information and I wanted to talk to the group about it. And the entire group, I didn't even get into it. They just violently discredited it and just completely, the We Are Change got destroyed right there in that moment
It's hard to
because
grab
nobody
onto.
wanted to look at it.
And I think,
And I
you know,
realized at that moment, I was dealing with more of a conspiracy theory support group than I was an actual real 9/11 truth movement.
the majority of
wanna
Americans
move.
don't even know that a third tower fell, let alone what then that they know what Barbara
But they
Hoener's
did.
position
But they
that it's
did.
holding
That's
us
my
back,
point.
the
But
9/11 truth movement
they
back.
did. They did. There was no excuse for them. They knew. And they should have, they're part of the 9/11 truth movement. They're the ones who are active. They're the ones who are wanted to know. They're the ones who put themselves out there as wanting to be people who wanted to bring justice to 9/11 families. And when it came time to do it, to learn something new, to learn something that was counter to their already preconceived ideas, they rejected it outright and actually destroyed an entire organization.
Are you saying that the majority of 9/11 truth movement is being held back because of Barbara Honegger's view, whatever that is?
Views of that nature.
Yeah, but I don't think
There
the
are
9/11
many.
truth movement is being held back. But I don't think most of the people in the 9/11 truth movement are going, you know what? The reason this movement's not moving
I'm
forward
feeling
because-
it. I'm feeling it. Darren's feeling it. Sean's feeling it. We're all feeling it. And it hasn't moved. It hasn't
You-
grown.
or
We
Craig
got new
McKee's,
information.
or
We got new stuff.
don't-
That's the thing. It's like we have new stuff that's come out. New information that's been declassified. New information that's been put out there, and nobody's interested in it.
I
and
wouldn't
it's
even say that
frustrating.
directed energy weapons is holding 9/11 truth movement. Holograms. I don't think none of that's holding the 9/11 truth movement back right now.
Yeah, he'd be surprised.
Well,
some
okay, then
people still believe that.
then talk to the folks who were asked to, hey, would you want to, or what's the author's name who wrote that book? I can't remember his name, Kenny something. We sent him an email asking him, hey, do you want to blah, blah, blah. And he said, no, I'm done with 9/11. And he said, hey, was that something have anything to do with the cookie conspiracy theories? And he said he didn't respond. But it was, but we get that all the time. It's like, no, we told, I don't want to do that because of some of the people who are associated with 9/11 and some of the theories associated.
That was Kevin Fenton.
I don't ever
Yeah,
hear that,
Kevin
but
Fenton.
hats off to you.
Oh,
Caleb,
I
you
hear it
have
all the
something?
time.
You're muted, Hawaii. There you are.
With the new Saudi information, where did it come out from?
Well, it came from the government.
Exactly. And a lot of people don't trust the government.
Yeah, and you need to cut that out because there's certain things you have to look at the evidence for what it is, and you have to evaluate it as its own sort of on its own merit, not just because it came from the government.
I understand that, but you demand somebody to trust the government or trust your view, then there's gonna be a problem. Especially
that's going to be their problem, not mine.
Well,
But-
I agree. I mean, the government is shady.
Only when you call for
Yeah.
division, that's what I'm saying, or call them stupid or dumb or for not trusting the government's new evidence. I find that crazy.
Well, you gotta remember, not every FBI agent is scum. There's good ones out there, and there was good ones in the investigation of 9/11.
No different than say like Serpico. What happens to you when you tell the truth within the agency? You end up missing, gone.
Well, these FBI agents ain't
We're
missing.
dealing with psychopaths.
Well, you should check out a lot of interviews that Adam Fitzgerald's done with FBI agents, Ken Williams, Mark Rossini, these people that were involved in the intelligence. They're still
Lieutenant Colonel
alive.
Anthony Schaefer.
Yeah,
They were
I mean, they're not dead.
granted, they were attacked.
Have you
They were
guys reached
attacked,
out
discredited.
to?
Schaefer specifically.
Have you guys reached out to James Kreindler or anybody at Motley Rice? Because you guys that's where you guys. I just really think you guys have a connection.
Right, but why don't we all have a connection?
Because
Yeah.
I
Well,
side with I find it appealing to go after the, not that I hear you guys say this, we're not a controlled demolition truth movement, which I think is disingenuous because nobody is insinuating that we are a controlled demolition movement. We're after the truth wherever it leads. Some of us find an appeal following that part of the 9/11 truth
Right.
movement narrative than following the geopolitics. And hats off to you guys that get into geopolitics. It bores me to tears, to be honest. I respect you guys, and
Yeah, it's not boring. You learn stuff. You learn new stuff every day.
I dig it. You
Yeah.
guys are into it, but then
But
I just-
also too, like I mentioned to you last Saturday, or last Sunday actually, remember I said how we all come from at 9/11 from our own sort of expert angle, like
Yes.
Richard, you come from an architecture background, and you got your structural engineering, and that's vital, and it's important. I come at it from my military law enforcement background, et cetera, and I come at it from just my interest and my distrust of government too, from going back even before 9/11. And we all come at it from our own angles, but the 9/11 truth movement itself has to operate from a set of standards that are rooted in some real good grounding, that doesn't just discard one person's take versus another. You know what I'm saying? It's like it shouldn't be the 9/11 truth movement as a whole needs to have its own viewpoint, its own approach
yeah,
versus.
but as soon as we do that, we become authoritarian, and that's when
No. What you do is you establish standards, just like any agency or any other organization would have. You establish standards, and those standards are adhered to. And if you're authoritarian to the degree that the standards are adhered to, and there's nothing wrong with that. That actually gives you credibility, because it shows that you're actually not just taking anything whimsical, sort of whatever the wind blows at you, and accepting it and entertaining it. Because so many things just should not be given any sort of entertainment, because other people are going to listen to it and they're going to take it as truth, and then go off in their own little rabbit hole and get lost in it. And that's why
I
we got
think
all
we've
these people.
done that because we funneled down to what is become litigation, and now we've got AE doing the NIST request for correction, and we got lawyers committee
What-
doing the grand jury. That's funneled down to the most essential things, not fringe things. They kind of filter themselves out, and because they're not part of a litigation, you don't see directed energy weapons in any litigation anywhere.
I understand that, but the point is, what I'm trying to make here is that, like, the movement as a whole is being directed in a certain way without any certain, like, for example, Cradler, we're not connected with them at all. We're not helping them at all. We have nothing to do with them. They have nothing to do with us. And so the controlled demolition aspect of it, there's the Saudi Arabia connection aspect of it, but there's no synergy between any of the various viewpoints. You know what I'm saying? And that's where and I see that's where this group and other groups, and all each group's taking their own position based on what they are comfortable with, versus what the 9/11 truth movement should be doing with respect to maintaining a set of standards and operating from there, no matter how difficult it might be, no matter how boring the information might be. You
Right.
go where the evidence takes you, period, end of story.
Mick has told me he's expressed interest in growing. He would like to have relations with Motley Rice or Kreindler and Kreindler. There's just nobody building
That's
that bridge
good.
right now.
That's good.
You guys
just-
might be that bridge. I don't know.
Mhm. It's just, it'd be nice to get, like, I would love to see Adam on Richard's show, but I don't think Richard will have Adam on. I
No,
could be
'cause
wrong, but
Adam's burnt
you
that
know,
bridge.
well, I don't know. It's like he has so much information. He'd be an
He
incredible
does.
guy to talk to.
He's just
And
very
have
intense.
on your show, Richard. I just don't know if you'd be
Well,
willing to do that or
Well,
not.
nothing but Gene, you're intense too.
I am.
So yeah, so you can't call Adam intense, and then on the other hand, you are as
I've-
well. So
I was canned
Would-
from AE and Richard for quite a while because of my
Would-
loud mouth. So
Would you be willing to do that, Richard? Just
No,
no, he's not. No, he's not.
No, a one-on-one, he's actually fantastic.
He's a passionate
really
guy.
good to know him.
He's not an asshole.
No.
No.
He's far
Yeah,
from that.
I think he'd be.
He's one of the
been-
most.
he's
He's the
been-
most. He's one of the most knowledgeable guys on 9/11.
I've been an asshole. He's been an asshole.
We're not chronically assholes. We have our moments. Like.
Okay, we could agree that.
Adam does great one-on-one. But if you, I really would like to just
He's-
put that olive branch out there, Richard, just in case.
he's spent more time attacking me personally than he has researching Saudi Arabian hijackers.
Well, that's not true.
Dude,
at
that's
all.
not true.
He's spent years doing this Saudi Arabia research.
I suggest
Over
you go to
100
YouTube and check out his videos.
Over, I read over how many? Over 130 books or something on the subject, and
Talks about Saudi Arabia all the time.
Yeah,
He's definitely the Rain Man of Saudi Arabia knowledge. I'll give you that.
and I promise you, it would be a very productive interview. I just want to put it out there.
I don't think Adam would do it, Ed.
You don't think so?
No.
All
I don't
right.
know. I
No.
think you would.
No,
So
But anyway, it's out. I want to put it out there just in case. I'm just saying. I just want to see justice done for these victims, and I think that'll, because Rich, you have such a good reach, and I think Adam would be incredibly valuable to you. I really do.
Thank you, Ed.
Richard, since I got you, what upcoming interviews do you have that you're aware of? Not to put you on the spot.
We have Mark Gaffney. We have Aidan Monahan. We just had John Perkins.
Yep, I mentioned that. That was great.
Thanks. Let me look here. Got a crappy memory. That's not gonna help.
Did any of you guys read that Confessions of a Hitman? Per chance?
No, I haven't seen the interview yet.
I read it
Watch
many
though.
years ago. Many years ago.
That's amazing. That's a tactic on countries against other countries. It makes so much sense.
Eddie Bravo is interviewing me tonight at 7, but that's pre-recorded.
Okay.
You won't be able to watch that one.
Richard,
How's
do you want to speculate, comment on the two people we're considering for the convention? We had some interesting candidates. I don't know if you care to share your opinions on either one.
Yeah, if you want to go into that, that's a whole topic shift, but I guess so is the subject of my podcast. I'll just mention Tom Scott Gordon, the architectural photographer who documented a process that at one point there was a plan to replace the connection between the aluminum panels and the steel due to galvanic corrosion. That's he's kind of a fascinating guy. He actually had Kurt Sonnenfeld tailing him.
I hear that the cladding was starting to fall off on the buildings because of that galvanic reaction.
Yeah, and I can't find any other documentation for that other than.
We're talking billions of dollars in repairs, or millions at least.
Oh yeah, it's not billions, I don't think, because that was before they decided, apparently, to take the building down altogether.
Right.
And they got that landed them a whole lot more bang for their buck, of course. But what Al is referring to is the National Fire Prevention Association convention, June 3rd to the 6th or 5th, which is an opportunity in Boston for the truth movement to table. There are two proposals on that they're considering. One is Dale Pierce, who's a firefighter who has a website called protectingOurProtectors.weebly.com. And that is an opportunity for sliding under the radar because it's not overtly 9/11 truth, but there would be TV screens of Building 7 coming down. He's a strong tabling advocate. He's volunteered at our events at the AIA conference more than once. And so that is one opportunity. Gene, you missed the second call. Not that you missed it, you weren't invited, but I mean, you should be aware of the content of that call because it affects your work, your volunteer work for the content of the website, the display system for the booth, the literature on the table, etc. Because Eric Lawyer has done a 180-degree reversal, which was a surprise to me and Al, I imagine, and now is interested and willing to host a booth himself. But it wouldn't be firefighters for 9/11 Truth. It would be something concerning high-rise safety and an appeal to protect the firefighters also. But we don't know what that looks like yet because it would all have to be created. And so there's another call tomorrow to try to make check the feasibility of that. He would be bringing apparently Paul Cayley, the producer of Calling Out Bravo 7. For those of you who don't know, and I'm one of them until today, Bravo 7 in firefighter means building 7.
Yes.
I didn't know that. So he would be
makes sense.
coming out maybe from the UK. So I don't think both of these are going to happen. I'm guessing that Al and his team are going to decide which of them is going to happen. And hopefully that will be in the next couple of days so that we can have time to make it happen, whatever it's going to be. Al, do you want to add anything? Or?
I had actually gone over this earlier in the call. So I think everybody got a good idea of what we were up to. But I was just interested in your impressions of either one of those guys and who would be most suitable. I mean, I think they're both great. I'd love to have them both there. But we have to decide one or the other, the way it now seems. So, but
Yeah.
I love the fact that Eric talked about going up the chain of command and how best to accomplish that and what he had done in the past and what this guy Paul Cayley had done. It was all news to me as to how far they had gotten with it. So, it's going to take some more of the group participation to get everybody to agree on which would be the better way to go.
Well, you if we didn't have the misstep, if you will, with Eric yesterday or the day before,
Right.
then I think we'd all know what we're doing.
Yep.
So there's a question of, well, why did we pivot 180 degrees twice? It's like it takes a little bit of the wind out of my sails. So I find myself hoping that his energy and his content and it is real and sustainable and will make this happen because I think he is a better choice. If we are down to two choices, he's the best choice, I think. I just wish we didn't have to go around in circles to get there. But if we are there and he's heading in the same direction consistently now, then that would be my choice, I guess. Is that what you were asking me?
Yeah, just where you come down on, who's a better choice.
Yeah. For the price that we were talking about bringing Dale from the bottom of Mexico, seems like we could bring Paul from London and Eric from Colorado.
Right.
But I don't know that you can also bring Gail and Richard from Idaho. I also don't know that we're as necessary as Eric and Paul are to this particular cause. So I think it should be considered that financially speaking, that were optional. It also could be considered, I mean, Eric knows there's a minimum budget. Maybe Paul had some way to get here that we don't know about. Eric had indicated that he might be able to come without reimbursement also. That's not true for Gail and I. And Gail comes with me. So those are factors.
So for those that don't know, Paul Simon or Paul, I don't know what his real last name
Kaylee.
is.
Kaylee.
Kaylee, he is from the United Kingdom. He and Eric both founded Firefighters for 9/11 Truth. They put out the Calling Out Bravo 7 film. If you haven't seen it, I consider that the best World Trade Center 7 video I've ever seen. Not trying to take anything away from 7 or anything else. Ed Asner's 15 minutes, but this was just really comprehensive and well done written by firefighters for firefighters. That would be something else if he could make it. But, yeah, we'll see where it goes. Thank you for that, Richard.
What's the status on the film, Richard?
What film are you referring to? Crime Scene to Courtroom?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm working my butt off collecting lies from Sham Sunder's mouth and John Gross and others, and creating specific rebuttals to their specific lies so that we can do a point counterpoint format in the courtroom on film, looking into the jurors' eyes. So I've got a lot of work to do for that.
Is there
And
enough
I've also
time in a
got-
lifetime to be able to collect all those lies? That's a hell of a job right there.
If you guys are
Now,
interested,
fortunately, he doesn't have.
oh, go ahead.
He doesn't have that many public
Oh,
recorded video appearances,
we were at the
or even
event with,
audio. So
yeah, we were at the event with Ronald Hamburger. When he was giving his spiel. I remember we kind of shouted him down a bit.
If anybody's,
you shouted him down?
Oh, a bunch of us did. That was back in our We Are Change days.
Oh, cool. Because he's a snake. We ran
Yeah,
into
he
him
is.
at a structural engineering conference where we had a booth, and he was trying to pretend that he was relaxed, but well, what do you think happened then if it wasn't a natural collapse? Because I just give him all this evidence for thermite, etc. And I said, well, controlled demolition. He got up and left. And this was from a table that we were both sitting down at together.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
if you guys are interested in this film, I made a shortcut, 911lawyers.org/film, and it'll just take you straight to this page. 9/11 crime scene to courtroom. It's just, again, it's just easier for me as a street activist to yell that instead of yelling LC for 911.org. But 911lawyers.org/film will take you here. You guys could co-produce it, donate. I think they got 40,000 out of the 120,000 they need for it. They've raised $2,100 so far. They're going to make
Hey,
20
Richard.
minute. They're going to make 20-minute segments each, and put it in a volume series, and then actually use this as a new amendment to present to a future grand jury. So it's be like a
Hey, Richard,
polished.
do you know where you're going to be shooting this film?
No.
If you shoot it in LA, just FYI, I have a lot more toys available to me these days.
Oh yeah, Ed, please give your background on that part.
Oh yeah, he knows my background. I'm you know, but
Understood.
yeah, but I have access to some toys and I got cine lenses, cameras, and stuff like that. I come with it, but you know, like I said, I have access to a lot of the toys that can save you some money.
Cool. Thanks, Ed.
Edit that out, wrote it down. All right. Anybody else have anything good for the group? It's a nice day. I'd like to check it out for a little bit more before I hop into another meeting at 7.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah, maybe we
all.
talk more. Maybe we can talk more about that, Richard, and maybe in return, let me use the gear or whatever. Maybe you know, I don't know if you guys have a DP or not. Let me know.
You don't know if we have a what?
A DP,
What's
director of photography.
is that what you are, Ed?
But yeah, I've done a lot of, about 20 years of shooting. But I just
I'm
shot
sorry,
short
your
film.
words are running together, so I didn't hear
Oh,
you.
sorry. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I've been shooting for about 20 years.
Oh, gotcha.
And then plus all the stuff I did with Ed Asner, you know, but that was simple stuff. And then I shot a short film called Zambian, which won 12 awards at film festivals. And then I'm still in editing on a post-apocalyptic science fiction I shot. Yeah, healthy, stay creative.
Well, that's a kind offer. Thank you. This is all great news to hear. Are you volunteering your services too?
I am volunteering my services.
You guys are aware of Christina Borgeson, the producer of TWA Flight 800 then, I guess? She will be producing this film. All right. Anything else for the group, everybody?
No, thank you guys.
Well, let's clarify. Just LC 911 is in concert with Richard Gage. 911 is producing the film. She's directing it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks everybody. Awesome to connect with you guys.
All right.
All right, guys, have a good night.
You too.
All right.
Have a
Thank
great
you,
one,
Darren,
everybody.
for coming in.
Take care, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having us.
Aloha.